To quote Mrs. Griffith from the 2010 modern classic Easy A, life is full of choices. Everything you do in life, you have to make a decision in order to move forward, like an episode of Game Ka Na Ba with Chris Aquino. You ask yourself questions like, do I routinely sleep at 6 a.m. playing The Sims instead of facing my academic backlogs for the past 2 or 3 weeks? Or do I take a little bit of a midnight snack knowing full well that the sugar spike is going to make me want to eat more and thus ruin my diet? Do I drink coffee even though I know it's going to give me diarrhea? Every day we have to ask ourselves, what do you want to do? And as for coffee, the answer is always a resounding yes.
What? Bakit parang kasalanan? Milo pa mo. Paspas mo. What can you say?
Being quarantined for what seems like 2 or 3 weeks already, time doesn't really exist right now. It's given me a lot of free time to come face to face with my existence. Now, I already do a lot of introspection already on a normal basis, which has admittedly resulted in my low self-esteem issues because I overthink about myself, the people surrounding me, and how people perceive me. And that's all fine and dandy, part of the normal routine, you know, overthinking, damaging my psyche and all. But Miss Quarantina has forced me to think about all of this in another level. And just so we're clear, I'm not complaining about having to stay at home for the entire duration of the quarantine without even school to think about because they suspended schoolwork. In fact, I fully support and commend everyone who sacrifices themselves and actively combats against the pandemic, and that's pretty cool, to be honest. Which is why I do my part in lessening the risk by staying at home and just doing a lot of waiting, rotting, thinking. What time is it? It's fascinating when you start realizing how easily your life could change with one decision. I ended today with a plane ticket back to my hometown for what would seem to be a whole month. My ticket, I have to fly back to my hometown tomorrow. I did not expect that at all. I don't think anybody did. Not all decisions, though, can be made abruptly. Some decisions take a lot of thought. And even after a long time of thinking it, you still don't know if it's the right thing to do. But you do it anyway, hoping that it is. So, what then do I think about a lot? I can't tell you. It's a secret. Unless you follow my Twitter. What I can say is that, admittedly, I am not in a good place in my life right now. And just like many other people, I hate saying that out loud. Let alone broadcast it on the internet through my webcam for all my family, friends, and enemies to see. But I get it though. You want to seem like we're better at handling things and pretending that everything's okay, maybe for some of us, to start believing it. Tough on the outside, but very vulnerable on the inside. We're so afraid of admitting that we're weak that it sometimes damages us to a certain point. At least for me. For my purposes, I hate admitting that I'm debilitated and sad most of the time these days because I know people are looking. And people are judgers. Judgmental. Sorry. I hold a lot of pain inside because I'm afraid of what people will think of me because I'm suffering, and because of that, I suffer more as I bottle it all up inside until it eventually explodes. And that's unhealthy, I think. Although that clip from the 2010 modern classic Easy A does pose an interesting question. How do you know if you've made the right decision? My answer? I don't know. I'm not really qualified to answer that. Although I did come across this great quote from Goodreads. It says, "If you obsess over whether you're making the right decision, you are basically assuming that the universe will reward you for one thing and punish you for another. The universe has no fixed agenda. Once you make any decision, it works around that decision. There is no right or wrong, only a series of possibilities that shift with each thought, feeling, and action that you experience." That's fair. Some decisions are easy to see if they're right or wrong, because there's a clear initial goal and every decision you make should be in service of that goal. For example, choosing to study 7 hours a day during the entirety of the quarantine in order to be productive with a goal of graduating school, right? As opposed to not studying 7 hours a day and instead play The Sims all day for the entirety of the quarantine with the same goal of graduating school. Now you see which one is the better decision. However, with other decisions, the options, you can't tell which one is the better one to make at all. When a decision is really, really, really difficult to make, it guts you to just choose one, but you know you have to. I'm going to go right ahead and say that there is no way of telling until you actually made that decision and you eventually convince yourself that it was the right decision to make. You can't live forever in regret, because you can't, first of all, can't really live forever, period. And secondly, regret sucks to be stuck with for the rest of your life. Right now, I'm still in the position of accepting and convincing myself that I made the right decisions, which brought me to my place now, which is still full of suffering and sadness. I say this because in certain situations, this one being one of them, there is no right or wrong decision, only just living with what you have. And I choose not to live in regret, at least not longer than necessary, or at all. I choose not to live in regret because now I see, with the cards that I've been dealt with, it's the better decision to make. The goal is much clearer now, and that goal is to be a better version of myself, flourish, be a butterfly out of its cocoon, something like that. This video is specifically tailored for me, because I need to remind myself that it is okay to be sad after making the right decision. At least that's what my friend says. I know that it's a good decision because I'll make it out to be, no matter how sad I feel today or tomorrow. I have my whole life stretching out right in front of me. It would be a colossal waste to just stay here, refusing to move. Mentally, at least, because I really do need to stay inside for now. Again, this video is tailored specifically for me, but it could also be for you. Not when you're trying to decide which decision to make, but when you've already made one and you're doubting yourself if you made the right one or not. You convince yourself however you want, but the important thing is when you're struggling with it, there's no better way to get through it than to face it head on, deep in its belly, slashing through the vines, or whatever they're called, and coming out of there triumphant, stronger, but most importantly, alive.
I've got enough cheer, but I see tears. I was funny last year. I tell myself every first of January. I'm scared of getting caught like a fucked up spring with a neck in pain and eyes that sting. Don't look at me